Hi everyone, thanks for joining in today. Whether you're watching or listening, it's great to have you. I'm really super pleased to welcome and introduce Stephen Pye, who is the US Head of Operations for RocSearch. Hi Stephen.
Hi Amy, thank you very much for having me on.
Oh no, it's really great to see you again. So Stephen, you've been with RocSearch for 3.5 years now. And I know that you relocated out to the US in February of last year, just before COVID hit. So I suppose it'd just be really great to hear from you about what life is like in the US now compared to the UK, and maybe a little bit probably what it was like when you first landed, very naively, a month before COVID hit.
Yes, I mean, timing is always my specialty. So arriving, I think I landed 3 weeks before our first lockdown in the US. So it was a very interesting time to obviously relocate. But I actually feel very fortunate that I relocated when I did, because if I hadn't have moved in February, I would have been stuck in the UK for all of COVID. So I was pretty fortunate that I relocated when I did, and that my visa and everything got processed in time for me to move in February. It was an interesting time. Obviously, I came out here in February, and January we'd had a record month. February we broke that record, and then March we were on course to break that record as well. So we had this amazing Q1, and we had all these grand plans of growth and hiring and all of that. And then 3 weeks into me being here, and boom, we're locked down, and I'm stuck in my 600 square foot apartment in Austin, not really knowing anyone. So it was an interesting journey, and 2020 was certainly an interesting time for everyone. I guess we've been kind of fortunate in Texas in one way, and I guess not fortunate in another, in that our lockdown measures and our COVID measures that have been in place have been really limited. We had maybe a 6-week lockdown in 2020, and then since then, limitations have kind of been lifted gradually. And I mean, right now we're living pretty normal life out here in Austin. There's not really any restrictions in place. There's no no wide scale mask mandate or anything like that. And I mean, things have gradually over the course of this year been kind of moving back to normal. Now, I don't know what I mean, the way Texas is, we're not going to have any more restrictions because they're just not going to do it. But other parts of the US, as things are obviously changing in the UK, and with variants and all of the things that are going on in the UK with more stringent measures, we're kind of preparing for the fact that New York is probably going to follow some of those measures in the next 6 to 8 weeks. Because what generally happens is whatever happens in the UK and whatever happens in London, 6 weeks later, the same sort of thing happens in New York. So we're kind of preparing for the worst to a certain extent for our New York office. But in Austin, there's no restrictions, and they're not going to bring any in because the governor just won't. So it's fairly normal life out here.
Yeah, brilliant. And then, so just tell me a little bit about the US lifestyle that you've got now out in Austin compared probably to the lifestyle you had in the UK.
I mean, it's kind of chalk and cheese. It's I lived in London, and I've lived in London my whole life, and worked the London lifestyle and the London rat race, and was working 11-12 hour days a lot of the time, and going out and partying a little bit too much, and living that London lifestyle. And for me, one of the appeals of moving somewhere else after 30 years of kind of living and being around London was slowing down a little bit, and having a slightly slower pace of life. And the reason why because I could have moved to kind of New York or Austin, and for me, New York is just London but a different place. Like the environment and the lifestyle is pretty similar. So I chose Austin because it was just such a different pace of life. And it's just a lot slower, I guess. Life's just kind of slowed down a little bit. And I mean, with the weather the way it is out here in Austin, we have roughly 300 days of sunshine a year, so we're always outside. Yeah, the weather's incredible. Like, it's middle of December and it's 80 degrees outside, so I'm walking around in a t-shirt and shorts in the middle of December, right? So it's really different, and because the weather's so good, like, everything's outdoors. Everything I do is, you know, like outdoors, hiking and paddle boarding on the river, and you know, floating down the river and things like that. So it's just a very different pace of life. I live 5 minutes away from the office, so my commute is, you know, 5 minutes, whereas in London, like, you can't get anywhere in 5 minutes.
No.
You can't even get to your nearest tube station in 5 minutes most of the time. So it's, you know, I've gone from, you know, leaving my house at, you know, 7:30 in the morning and getting home at 8 o'clock to leaving my house at 8 a.m. and getting home at 6 o'clock. So it's just given me, I guess, a lot more free time, and given me back a lot of time, and the pace of everything's just a little bit slower. Not necessarily recruitment's still very fast and you know, still very fast paced, and similar kind of pace in the working life. I guess just the rest of life has kind of slowed down a little bit because I've got more free time on my hands, and it's just a bit of a slower pace out here.
It's amazing. I mean, obviously we met up when I was in Austin last month, and it was an amazing city to visit, and I totally get what you mean. You kind of have the city lifestyle that you have in London, but it's so much more chilled out, and all the paddleboarders and canoeists on the river. And I know you said you play a lot of golf as well, because the weather's just great all year round. You don't need to wait for that 3-month window in the UK to get your golf courses in. But it makes Austin, you know, generally as a place for recruiters, makes it, you know, really attractive from a lifestyle point of view. Even playing golf year round is just incredible. I've got a tea time tomorrow, and there's no way in hell I'd ever be playing golf, you know, end of December in the UK. So the fact that I can still get out and play golf most weekends, and I mean, honestly, the biggest problem is that in August it's too hot. And that's the biggest struggle, is that playing golf in 100-degree heat is a lot harder than you'd expect. So my biggest problem is that it's too sunny, rather than anything else. That's amazing. So let's go on to the business side. Obviously, as I said, I came out to see you guys last month, and one of the things that really just struck me is how successful RocSearch have been in the US. So do you want to share with us maybe some of your highlights from this past year?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a busy year for all the right reasons, which has been a good thing. So some of the best things that we've done so far this year, we've pretty much doubled everything in the space of a year. So we've doubled our headcount this year. We've doubled our contractor book. We've doubled our perm revenue, and we're moving into. We came into this year in an okay position, but in all honesty, we sort of came into the year and we were like, we need to step up, right? COVID, 2020 was a difficult year. COVID impacted us just as much as it impacted every other recruitment business. We were fortunate that we didn't have to lay people off, and obviously we lost people due to sort of natural attrition and people moving on and changing careers and things like that. But we didn't lay anyone off in the US, and we, wanting to, our CEO Connor's kind of pledge at the start of COVID was to keep as many people as we possibly could in jobs, and that's what we did. We kept all of our team that wanted to be here, we kept in jobs. But 2020 was a slog, and we came into the year, our runner book wasn't looking that healthy. We had 12, 13 staff, and we knew that we had a lot to do, and we've just absolutely flown this year, and we're now up to 32 staff, so almost tripled our headcount actually. So we're up to 32 staff. Our runner book is actually tripled as well. Our runner book's tripled. So our runner book's looking really healthy going into the new year, and we've got loads of really long contracts. Our average contract length is about 9 months at the moment, which is great. And we're in the process of hiring 10 people for Austin and another 5 for New York. So we're gonna come into 2022 in a really strong position where we can really just focus on achieving what we've done this year, just do it all over again next year. We want to double everything again next year. So it's been great. It's been an absolutely mental year. I'm exhausted, I'm not gonna lie.
You need a break.
Yeah, I'm definitely ready for the Christmas break, but it's been a mental year for all the right reasons, and it's been a really positive year. You know, we've had our employees earning, you know, more money than they've ever earned before, and you know, earning life-changing sums of money. And we've had more promotions this year than any year before. And you know, we're coming into the new year with we started this year, and our senior leadership team was pretty much myself and Johnny, and we've now got a senior leadership team of 7 in Austin. Austin and New York. And you know, that will only grow and keep getting bigger. So the fact that we are able to promote so many people from within, and you know, have more people sitting around the table in the kind of leadership team, and you know, the fact that the growth's been so good, and that, you know, employees are happy and earning good money, it's just sets us up for a really good 2022. Yeah.
Amazing. Huge congrats, by the way. Just in awe of the success that you guys have had. It's really amazing.
Well, thank you.
What would you say some of the biggest differences that you guys have found in the US market, so recruitment in the US market versus in the UK?
It's a really good question. So I mean, the number one thing for me that it always that things kind of always boil down to are the fees. The fees are just astronomically different in the US compared to the UK. Our average perm fee is about $26,000, and you know, our biggest perm fees this year have been, you know, close to 6 figures. So it's the fees are just astronomically different. You're talking 2 or 3 times the average perm fee in the UK. Contract margins are the same. You know, our average weekly GP is about $1,200. So, you know, and that could be even bigger. So, you know, the margins and the values are a big difference, and that obviously massively helps from a profitability standpoint as a business, because you're doing less deals for more money. And your deals per head needs to be considerably lower out here than it does, you know, in the UK or you know, even in Asian markets and places like that. So the fees is a big difference, and obviously a huge positive. And I mean, one of the big appeals to all UK recruitment companies is the fees. Of course. I think business wise, there's a bit of a mix. For me, the UK is a very transactional market. It's more transactional based than relationship based. And what I mean by that, I guess, is that in the UK, like, you mail shot out a candidate to your database, and you know, people will come back to you and say, yeah, I'm interested, if they've got zero relationship with you. Out here, it's a bit more relationship driven, where you can still make those placements by, you know, specking out candidates and things like that, but people want to know you before they do business with you. And it's a bit more of a kind of relationship driven market, where if you've got a good relationship with someone, they will trust you and trust your judgment and look at your candidates more so than just a transactional relationship. So I think that's been one of the big differences. And I think that's the thing that for recruitment companies kind of moving out here has been something that I've seen other businesses struggle with. And I mean, certainly we struggled with it when we first came out here, because it's just a slightly different way of doing business. Pre-COVID, we of all the clients we'd placed with, 90% we had met in person before we'd placed with. So, and I guess what I'm getting at with that statistic is that, you know, meeting people pre-COVID, we couldn't really do deals with people until we'd met them. And that was one of the big differences. And even now, sort of in this era of COVID and meetings not going on as much, we're still meeting with all our clients over Zoom, and they want to kind of see you in person, or kind of see you, over a screen,
on the screen,
and like look in the whites of your eyes, sort of thing. So that for me has been in that it's very relationship driven, and if you've got a good relationship with one manager in a company, that will open up the rest of the company very easily, because they'll be your they'll be your champion, and they'll champion you to the rest of the business. So for me, that kind of land and expand mentality is all very relationship driven, and the better relationship you've got with the hiring manager, the more opportunity that's going to create. So I think that's one of the things that's a little bit different to the UK, because the UK can tend to be a little bit more, what product have you got? Give me the product. I'll buy it. I don't really care who you are. I don't care who I'm buying from. Whereas here, people care a little bit more about who they're buying from, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really great. And then obviously, just thinking about the success of RocSearch since you've landed and expanded both in New York and Austin, what would you attribute that success to?
So there's a few things, I guess. One of the big ones is training. We generally, as a business, hire at an entry level, train, develop, and kind of push through the barriers. I mean, we're always hiring experienced consultants, and we're always hiring, junior consultants as well. But we generally, the majority of our hiring is at that entry level. So giving those individuals a platform to be successful through good training, good management, good development, I think that's something that has certainly aided us, in that we've got an exceptional training team. Our trainer out here in the US is one of the most positive, energetic people I've ever met, and so her energy and her passion certainly rubs off to the rest of the business, and the entry level trainees sort of certainly get a good platform to achieve success. And we've had rookies this year who, in their first year of, well, not even a year, we took our first entry level cohort on in March, and all 5 of the people that we hired in that cohort have had at least one promotion. 2 of them are going to be promoted again in January, so within their first year they will have had 2 promotions. They've built those, out of those 5, they've probably added over $1 million worth of GP between the 5 of them. So it's been really good to be able to get those junior employees up and running very quickly, and I think that's certainly aided in our success very well. We've got a good management team, and we've kind of grown a really strong management team this year, which always helps if you've got good leaders and good managers. That just seeps down to the rest of the business. Our promotion structure is really clear and really straightforward. So people know exactly what they need to do to get promoted at every level. That always helps, because it just means that everyone's got a goal that they're working towards, and they know exactly what their next step is in their career. And I think our culture, as much as anything else, we like having an office, right? We're not necessarily one of those businesses that is like, everyone be remote and do whatever you want whenever you want, just make sure you get the work done. We're not as much like that. We like having an office. Don't get me wrong, people can work from home and they have that flexibility, and we have all those sort of flexible working policies and flexibility in place. But we like having an office. We like having a place where people can come to work and they enjoy being in the office, and they have fun in the office. And I think the thing that is always good about our offices, and I'm sure when you came to our Austin office, is that you will always hear people laughing. You'll always hear people laughing and joking, and we have a really fun office environment. It's a fun, sociable culture. We go out a lot. We do a lot of incentives, and I think having that culture in place where and what we build that culture on really, and the 3 most important things for myself and Johnny whenever we're hiring and whenever we're looking to grow, the 3 things that are sort of really important. We want to build an office office that's fun and is a fun environment that people enjoy coming into the office. We want to give everyone an opportunity to earn a life-changing sum of money, and we want to give everyone an opportunity to move into a senior position. And they're the three things that we kind of build our offices on and build our business on. And if we get that right for our employees and we give them those opportunities to, be in a really fun environment, to make, really good money, and to, promote from within and move into those senior positions. If we deliver on that to our employees, then they'll deliver on sales and making placements and doing a good job for our clients, right? So that's kind of what we've built the office on and what we're building the environment on. And don't get me wrong, it's still a work in progress. And we're still 30 staff out here in the US, 30 odd staff out here in the US. So we're still always looking to improve and make that better. And we're still building our culture, but that's the foundation of what our culture is. And I think if you get the foundation right and you know what you're trying to achieve, everything else becomes quite easy from there. So I went off a massive rant.
Honestly, it's everything you said is spot on, Stephen, because I was expecting you to actually, when I said, what would you attribute your success to? I was expecting culture to be at the top of the list rather than the last thing you spoke about, because it was something that I was going to mention is obviously coming into your offices. The moment you walk into the door of the RocSearch office, particularly in Austin, I'm sure it's like this in all your offices, you can feel the culture. And that's when you know a company has built that fantastic environment where people can come in, they can grow, they can succeed, and they can thrive. And honestly, your office, it was totally like that. And I think with COVID, a lot of offices just haven't regained the culture that they once had. So to come in and just see this really lively, buzzing office, everyone waving and smiling when I walked through the door, everyone welcoming, all the photos on the wall. And obviously when me and you were having our kinds of catch up in the meeting room, all of a sudden, Who Let the Dogs Out was being blared off the office floor because someone's just landed a deal. Next 5 minutes, another song's being blared out really loudly. And just everybody celebrating everyone's success. It was honestly, completely agree that RocSearch have got a fantastic culture. I felt inspired and lifted when I left the office. So I can't even imagine how your guys, particularly your new trainees that you took on this year, going through that reward framework that you've got in place, how they must feel just thriving in that type of environment. So totally agree with you. Culture's definitely contributed to your success in the US. And obviously that's testament to you, Johnny, and the management team.
Yes, and I appreciate that, and I'm glad that kind of came across when you saw the office, because we always want an environment where you can almost like feel the energy. You can feel that energy, and everyone can feed off that energy. And we certainly get in trouble with our neighbours for playing the music as loudly as we do sometimes. But it all aids to the environment. And if you've got that energy in the office, then people feed off that, and they feed off that success. And we always, we're one of those places that celebrates everyone's wins and celebrates everyone's successes. And we are the least like sharky place out there. Like everyone wants everyone else to do well. There's no, we don't have a culture where anyone's kind of trying to screw anyone else over. Like everyone is everyone else's, number one fan and biggest cheerleader. And, that's the environment we want to create and we want to promote. And, we're knock on wood, we're doing a pretty good job so far of creating that environment, and we want to keep building on that and keep making it better and better.
Brilliant. So what would you say are your main focuses going into 2022 for another successful year, as you say, building upon the success you've had this year?
I mean, for us it's kind of doing what we did this year, just doing it all over again and doing it bigger and better than we have this year, in all honesty. So growth is our number one thing for next year. We're just reinvesting everything into growing the business and into expanding. We want to fill up our Austin office so that I have the issue of having to try and find more space in our building. And we took this office on. We can take 40 people in this office just about. And we moved here in February. And when I signed the lease, I was kind of thinking, give it 2 years and we'll fill this place up. And we're now a year in, and like, I'm struggling for desk space.
Yeah.
I've just had to order another six desks because we're running out of space. So it's a really good problem to have. So we're, grow our Austin office. Our New York office, we're moving because we've outgrown that office as well. We're in the process of interviewing for a new office, and we're looking at West Coast California, and also Florida. So we're looking at new offices in either of those locations. So I think our real goal for next year is growth in headcount wise, but also opening new offices and new locations. We're doing business all over the country, and we've got, we're in we're coming into 2022 in the strongest position we've ever been in, even stronger than, we were back in 2020 when we were doing record quarters and record months. These last 2 quarters, we've broken every record we've ever set. So we're coming into 2022 in the strongest position we've ever been in. And for us, that just means, right, let's double down, let's scale everything. Let's just go after it as much as we can. And, the market's really good out here. Business is good out here. Our client base is solid and growing and expanding all the time. We just want to keep riding the wave of success that we have been riding this year. So it's going to be another big year next year. And, we've got massive plans in place, and all of that really is centered around, growth, and what that means for, people joining us externally is that they've got huge opportunities to, move into senior positions very quickly. It means our existing team, like, they're all being pushed into, and growing into more senior positions, and, taking on more responsibility. And it's just an exciting time that we can offer these, offer our employees and offer new employees real opportunities to, grow their careers at astronomical rates. And we've got people that, after 2 years are, running teams of 3-4 people. And, that sort of growth and that sort of career trajectory is pretty hard to achieve at a lot of places. And, we can offer it to anyone and everyone that comes in and works hard and applies themselves and learns and develops. And, if they come in and do a good job, the sky's the limit for what they can achieve. So, it's exciting.
Big year. It's going to be a big year. I know it is for you guys. Even though this one's been huge, the next one's going to be even bigger. And just drawing on one of the points that you said there about expanding and looking at locations, one of the things that a lot of clients who are considering the US can struggle to get their heads around is the sheer size. And we always say, look at a state-by-state strategy. You need to think of it as if it's 50 countries because of the sheer size and the size of the opportunity. So it's really great to hear that you're considering now expanding into other states, and reaching, a wider pool of clients to go and fill roles for. It's amazing.
Yes.
And then, just thinking about that, clients who, or, other recruiters and staffing firms back in the UK who are thinking about expanding to the US, what would be the main tips or pointers that you would give to those recruitment founders or recruitment leaders who are watching this and are at that stage of thinking about expanding to the US?
That's a really good question. So I think your point before about treating the US as 50 individual countries is a hugely valid point, because even if you're doing perm only, it's fairly straightforward, right? The regulations across states are fairly similar for doing perm placements, and it's not, doing perm isn't as much of a risk. You can kind of treat perm as, the US as one thing, and it's less risky. From a contract perspective, and obviously I run our compliance out here, and you guys obviously massively help me with making sure that we're compliant everywhere. But every single state and every single location has completely different compliance laws. And if you come in thinking that, you can do a deal in California and that deal is going to be the same as in Illinois, you're going to be very surprised that they are so wildly different in terms of what you can and can't do. So certainly if you're expanding your contract business in the US, you need to be get a really good lawyer who understands recruitment compliance, or a really good partner like PGC, because you guys know the compliance inside out. And you need to treat it, you need to kind of, what I would suggest is go after one state to begin with before you start trying to expand anywhere else.
In the ground,
Exactly. And pick a location, build that location, and then start expanding from there once you've got your base up. Secondary to that, if I was starting a recruitment company in the US right now, the last thing I'd do is open an office in New York or California. I'd go somewhere that is up and coming and expanding and is a new location and a new territory. Austin is a good one, but Austin almost is you're a little bit behind the curve if you're coming to Austin now, because so many of us are here and doing a really good job. Denver, great market. Low cost of living, low office costs. And honestly, you want to keep your costs as low as possible when you're coming out here. And, office costs in New York and California, if you're going to start an office there, astronomical. And you just don't need to be in those locations. So you can go to a state that is, even the Carolinas, like we were talking the other day about, how the Carolinas are booming, and you've got the research triangle there, and loads of people are setting up second, tech offices and things like that. Those sort of locations. If I was setting up an office now, I'd be a bit smarter about the location, and pick a location. If I'm just starting out and I've got no base of operations in the US, I'd pick a location that is up and coming and is growing and is expanding, and where you can seize an opportunity that not that many people are kind of seizing that opportunity yet. I think they're the main things. I mean, keep your costs low.
It's really great.
Keep your costs low and just make sure that you land and expand. Start in one location and treat each, especially from a contractor perspective. Work it from there. But also, just if you're too, it's like in anywhere. Like if you start, a desk, if you're just talking about an individual recruiter and you start a desk in London, but then you start pulling roles in Birmingham, Manchester, like you're working all these individual roles, and you don't have one candidate that you can send to multiple different clients, right? And it's the same in the US. If you come to the US and you start working with clients in New York, California, Texas, Florida, like you're working in all these different locations, you're not building a base, right? So for me, it's come in, focus on one location, start in that location, build out your office in that location, and try and do all of your recruitment. If you're in Austin, do most of your recruitment in Austin, because then you're building your client base, and you find a good candidate, you've got 5 or 6 clients you can send that candidate to, right? Really simple, really basic kind of recruitment methodology, but I guess it's an important thing to remember for coming to the US, because it's so big, you can kind of get a bit distracted by all these bright lights and shiny new things everywhere. When really it's focus on one place, get your flag in the ground, get your stake in the ground, land and expand from there.
Amazing. Honestly, it's been amazing, everything that you've spoken about. I'm sure our listeners or watchers today will be absolutely loving it. Obviously, you've had this huge year. It's drawing to a close. It's time for a break. So have you got any plans for the Christmas break?
Yes. So I haven't been back to the UK in almost 2 years now. So because of COVID and everything, I haven't been back to the UK at all. And I was going to try and come back at Christmas, and then everything kind of went to pot in the UK, and it's not advisable for me really to be going back to the UK at the moment. So I am actually going on a road trip out to Arizona and Utah. So
amazing.
My girlfriend's American, and she's never been to the Grand Canyon. So as soon as she told me that, I was like, we need to fix that immediately, because I went to the Grand Canyon a few years ago, and it honestly, it's incredible, blew my mind. So we're driving out to New Mexico. We're spending a few days in sort of Albuquerque and Santa Fe. We're then going off to the Grand Canyon, and we're staying in Sedona in Arizona, and we'll explore loads of Sedona and do bits of Arizona. We're then going to Page, and there's some really cool hikes and stuff like that we can do out there. And we're going to Zion National Park as well. And then heading back to Austin. So we've got a 13 day, I think we're doing about 4,500 miles over 13 days. So it's going to be one hell of a road trip. But
that is going to be huge.
Yeah, that's my Christmas plans. And I mean, one of the great things about the US is that, you can drive everywhere for one. I mean, you've got to drive a hell of a long way, but you can kind of drive everywhere. But every state is kind of like a different place. and there's so many different places to see and different things to do. And for me, one of the main reasons, well, one of the things that massively attracted me to the US was the national parks, and the outdoors and the hiking, and like being able to get outdoors and see these amazing places. So the fact that over the Christmas period, I think we're doing 4 different national parks in the space of like 13 days. So we're going to see all these amazing places and do all these amazing hikes, and I'm buzzing. I absolutely cannot wait.
I bet you are. I can definitely see why you chose that trip over the UK.
Yes, I kind of figured cold COVID UK, or I can go to Arizona and it will be 70 degrees and I can go hiking in the sunshine. So I kind of figured that the national parks would win in this instance, and I'll get back to the UK in sort of February, March time, whenever I can, and hopefully the COVID situation calms down a little bit, and I can actually get back and see my family and friends after 2 years of not seeing them.
Well, if not, they could just watch this podcast to find out what you've been up to.
Yes, I mean, I'll make sure I send it to my mum. I'm sure she'll love it.
Oh, well, listen, Stephen, massively appreciate your time today. You've been great, and all the insights that you've shared, have just been so super interesting. And honestly, congratulations, the success that you guys have had this year. You're a brilliant partner for us to work with, and really looking forward to continuing it next year and just seeing the new heights that you guys are definitely going to achieve. So congratulations.
Yes.
Take care.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure, and honestly, if any of the listeners, anyone watching this, if they ever want to reach out or need any advice, or want to pick my brains about anything, I'm more than happy to help people out and give them advice and guidance and things like that, because it can be a bit of a minefield moving into the US market. And certainly more than happy to help your listeners. And again, thanks so much for all the work that you guys do for us, and for being such an incredible partner in 2021, and excited about 2022.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, that's really great. As Stephen said, anyone listening that wants to reach out to Really Kind Offer, please do. Or generally any sort of questions about US expansion, you can reach out to myself on LinkedIn or through our PGC website. You can book a call with us. So thanks everyone. Take care.